Supercars are a bit like sharks. If they stand still, they die. Machines like this exist to push the envelope of what's possible. McLaren, the British F1 team and maker of many of our favorite supercars, seems to have really taken this lesson to heart. Because over the last 10 years or so, McLaren just hasn't stopped. They've been churning out supercar after supercar. But this one, this is a big deal because it represents McLaren's hybrid electrified future. It's called the Artura, and it's the newest new McLaren in a long time. Here to walk us through it is Mark Basili, brand ambassador at McLaren Toronto. So tell me, why is this car such a big deal for the brand? Why is there so much hype?
It's such a big deal because it's really brand new in every aspect, every dimension of it, all the way from a brand new carbon fiber chassis to a brand new exterior design, and all the way down to a brand new engine and hybrid power plant.
So how much is it going to cost me in Canada?
So they start at $280,000 plus options. So basically we're seeing cars average around the $330,000, $340,000 price mark. So the first Arturas will be arriving in August of this year, 2021.
Let's start with the engine because this is the bit that may come as a bit of a shock to most people. It's the first McLaren of the modern era that's not going to have a V8, and it's a hybrid.
Absolutely right. All of our cars were V8 twin turbo models. And I guess the best way to describe the new Artura is that it's a baby P1. So we have changed the displacement as well as the number of cylinders in our engine. So we've shrunk it down to a 3-liter V6 with 2 turbos inside the V. So it's a hot V setup. And I don't really like calling it a V because it's actually about a 120-degree V. So it's almost like a kind of in between a boxer and what we usually see in a McLaren as well. The hybrid motor makes about 100 horsepower, the petrol engine about 570, combined 671, and you can even drive in EV mode for 30 kilometers. I think that the future of cars in general is going to be hybrid, if not fully electrified. I just hope that there is some certain components of the petrol world that kind of, change and stay instated in the hybrid systems. You have 100% torque available at 0 RPM. So you push the gas pedal down, there's no waiting for the engine to build revs, it's not waiting for the turbos to build boost pressure, it's immediate. And I think we're in a modern era where people want that.
For people who maybe haven't heard of the brand or need a bit of a refresher, what's McLaren all about?
Bruce McLaren was our founder, New Zealand gentleman, and loved racing from a young age and wanted to start his own racing company. He's actually one of the few people that have basically built a car and won with his name on it, both as driver and brand. So there's huge accolades behind the brand. Everyone knows us more so for Formula One. And if anyone knows Formula One, it's all about aerodynamics. So we're very fortunate as an automotive manufacturer to be a part of a Formula One team and be able to use a lot of those technologies that maybe other companies wouldn't be able to have.
Remind me of some of their back catalog. So you had this started with the 12C, then what?
Obviously we started with the MP4 12C. We dropped the MP4 relatively soon after. That became a Spider model, much like with any of our cars. We start coupe, we then go Spider. P1 came after that, which was really our first hypercar since the F1. And arguably, I think it's probably one of the best looking cars that's ever been made. It's just a classy design, super aggressive as well. After that, 2015, we did a facelift on the 12C. So the 650S then was born. Realistically, lots of components actually from like P1 kind of made it into that. But more importantly, the 675 came out after that, which was the first long tail since the F1, which was basically incorporating all of our racing DNA.
Yeah, I'm so glad they went away from all those number alphabet soup names though. Artura, a little easier to remember. Also, everything else underneath the car is new, right? So talk to me about the chassis, the new carbon tub.
Yeah, so basically brand new carbon fiber tub developed to house the hybrid system. So a bit of revisions to it, and obviously we were trying to find ways to make it better. We were actually able to lighten it up by 11 pounds. We also increased the structural rigidity by 17%. So basically the carbon fiber structure of the car, or the chassis, crash structure, basically starts right back here, almost where the firewall meets the engine. follows all the way down through here, so basically almost like a tub of carbon fiber, and then travels up just to the front of the windshield cowl there. And it is all carbon fiber. If you listen, it's hard as a rock. This decorative inlay here is an option on it, but no, every McLaren underneath the carpeting here is strictly a carbon fiber chassis.
So what's new inside? The cabin looks all new, the screens look all new.
Everything.
Yeah, can we have a look?
Absolutely, absolutely. So here, follow me inside here. Much easier to get in and out, as you just saw. Pretty fluid. Nice short sill here, and actually a lot thinner up top, which has been great because you can slide in and out with no problem. If you look inside the car here, it is a bit different to what we're used to seeing. Steering wheel is very familiar. We don't want to change that. It's probably got to be one of the best steering wheels available on a supercar. But we've changed where we're actually doing the handling and powertrain mode changes. Before, they used to be down in the center console, requiring you to remove a hand from the steering wheel. Not the best idea if you're racing on a track or driving aggressively at speed. So what we've done is we've learned a lot from basically fighter jet technology and everything being fingertip away. So now with my left hand, I can easily change between comfort, sport, or track modes for suspension. I can turn traction control down or off completely using this right here. And then on the right side of the steering wheel, I have different powertrain modes. So again, little taps of these little switches here, and all of a sudden I'm in a completely different driving dynamic. In terms of the infotainment systems, the screens, and the functionality of changing drive and handling modes, it looks like it's from an Elva. It actually was developed for the Artura. It just worked so well that they actually put it in the Elva, and the Elva being released first, everyone believes it was technology for the Elva. Not the case, it was actually developed for Artura. So this whole system here, the display, everything staying fixed together. So as you lower it or lift it up, you're always in the same relation to the switches as the wheel. Same with the infotainment screen here. Reminds me of an iWatch, how you have the little turn dial on the side, but a nice clean and clear screen to boot. Again, no buttons, all touchscreen. If we've learned anything from cell phones these days, is we don't need buttons. They can be intrusive, they can make the interior look complicated, and that's not what McLaren's about. It's about the driving experience. It's not about having an interior lit with buttons like a fighter jet. We only took the fighter jet kind of ergonomics to make the handling mode changes in order just to be safer and more convenient for the driver.
Tell me about the new seats, because these are really cool.
They are, and they're extremely comfortable to boot. So they call it a Club Sport seat. It's a standard fitted option on the Artura. And basically it is a fixed back racing seat. But the trick that they've done on this one is usually you don't have a lot of adjustments when the seat base and the backrest are fixed in one position. You can usually go front and back or raise or lower it, but what McLaren's done is they put it on a rocker. So if I do wish to recline more in the seat or go more upright, I can do what I'm doing now. As you can see, my base is going back and the backrest is going forward. This is probably the most comfortable racing seat I've ever sat in. We do offer a fully power adjust memory heated sports seat, but the cool thing about the Club Sport seats is finally someone's thought about putting lumbar adjustment in them. So as a cost upgrade, you could do these seats and have lumbar adjustment support, which is really the only thing I think you really need. Everything else feels very well. It's just kind of a matter of getting your lower back positioned properly and support it. 70–75% of our customers would go to the racetrack. And we do track days every year dedicated just to McLaren owners.
The design is really typical McLaren, right? Form follows function, taken from their racing days. So can you just walk us through some of the highlights here?
Absolutely. I mean, like I spoke about before, it's a lot to do with just the airflow and channeling the airflow in a certain direction over the car. If we kind of move to the front bumper here, you can see little details here, like the pinched fang at the front, and you can actually clearly see how it's actually directing air to the low temp radiators right down here. You can also see how the hood has these recessed lines in it and how it's actually taking the air up and almost turning it a little bit just to flow over the car in a certain manner to hit certain hard points in the rear and in the doors. The heat exchangers in the front, I absolutely love how integrated and how flush they are with the front bumper. I also loved the headlights being recessed in. It almost, no matter if the car's, out in bright sunlight, it always gives it a kind of a very aggressive presence, almost like it's squinting at you. As we move down the side profile of the car, we have these beautiful louvered fenders. which are now standard in body color, carbon fiber being the upgrade. But the principle behind this is just to reduce the air pressure that gets built up in the front wheel at speed. As you can imagine, wheels turning, there's a lot of air that's being trapped in here. And the problem with that is it'll lift the front end up at speed. So to exhaust that out just keeps the front end a lot more stable as we increase in those speeds. But more importantly, if you actually look at how it's channeling the air, it's actually taking that air and using it. So you can see that path is basically being incorporated into here as well. And then we kind of follow through the back, and I mean, there's this unmistakable gaping scoop in the rear quarter panel, which I think is just stunning. I can't help but the first time I saw the car, my eye went right to it. So we do have the flying buttresses, so as the air flows down the car, it heads up under here and actually helps push the rear end down. Compared to the 570, we were actually using that airflow as well, and you can see in here, it's actually channeling it under this massive clamshell here, just to help create a little bit more cooling and creating different pressure zones in the car to help with the downforce. We've relocated the tailpipes to be dead center at the top. And what that's allowed us to do is now we have a diffuser that goes from quarter panel to quarter panel. So we're using all of the air traveling underneath the car to help suck it to the ground.
These look like new wheels to me.
They're brand new wheels. So we actually have 3 brand new wheels, including the standard, the lightweight 5-spoke, and then the super lightweight 10-spoke. What we see here is the super lightweight 10-spoke, so it'll give you the least amount of rolling mass and unsprung weight. And now we actually have 720S brake calipers and rotors on the car. So if you see this here, it looks very reminiscent to what you'd see on a 720S in our showroom. And now that the car is offering about 100 horsepower more than a 570, I think it deserves the stopping power from the Alcon brakes.
This is the most important question. Can we hear it? What does that V6 sound like? Let's fire it up.
If you didn't say a V6, I guarantee you anyone watching this video would not think it's a V6.
All right, so this is a pre-production prototype. So starting it is like starting a NASA spaceship. There's a long procedure, but this is what it's gonna sound like. Okay, there you have it. Big thanks to Mark, Pfaff Automotive Partners, and McLaren in Toronto. That was the new McLaren Artura, available later this year. We'll be first in line to grab the keys, and well, it's got a lot to prove. So yeah, I think it should be pretty interesting.